Hello and welcome. I'm starting a couple videos I'm going to be making on builds for Fallout 76. And I'm starting with one of my favorites, the Bloodied Stealth Commando. It's a pretty easy one to build if you're a new player that came in from Wastelanders, or if you're just getting started, or maybe you're starting a mule. I would recommend going with Stealth Commando, and I'm going to kind of go through some of the perks that I would recommend, how you set everything up, and the type of gear you wear, stuff like that. So hopefully you all enjoy the video, and let's get started. I'm going to start with my stats. There are my mutations that I have, and my special stats that are from a mixture of my special stats I chose when I leveled up, as well as my gear. My gear I will be sharing as well. So my gear, pretty simple. I try to go for unyielding. It doesn't matter if it's 1 star. All you need is unyielding. That is what's going to give you the +3 to all stats except for endurance, and is going to help you be a stealth commando. A secondary stat you really want to have is action point refresh, which you see a couple of mine do have that. And another really important one that I can't stress enough is reduce fall damage by 50%. If you get 2 pieces of that on your person, it will completely remove your fall damage, and that is very good. So you can jump off of high cliffs and areas where you don't have to worry about putting on power armor or possibly killing yourself. I believe you can still cripple your limbs, but at least you won't die. Weapons are pretty much whatever you feel like. As long as you put on an automatic receiver or a single automatic or a single receiver, you will be able to do whatever you need to do. A basic railway rifle is very good because you can reclaim your spikes, which saves you on ammunition, and is very good for this type of build if you're just wanting to farm, use it as a farm weapon, and not have to spend money on, making your ammunition or spending time farming your stuff. Something like the automatic handmade, something I use whenever I fight like a Scorch Queen or something along those lines. And as you can see, the damage, 259 as of right now. I'm at little less than 20% health, right around the 15% mark. That is why the Bloody build is so good. The blood, even if it's a 1 star, which I do have a 1 star, the regular 1 star suppressed automatic rifle, it still has a damage of 150, and it uses the most throwaway ammunition that you will get tons of it in the game, and you don't have to worry about it. I have 2,900 right now. I use it for farming all the time whenever I'm running through West Tech, or just randomly killing little enemies that I don't want to use my 5.56 ammunition on. And the last one is the Fixer. The Fixer is a very good weapon. It's a quest plan that you can get for free, and then whenever you use your legendary scripts to get random weapons, you have a possibility of getting this as one of the weapons you can get. Not this one specifically, but some variant of it. As long as it's a 1 star Bloodied, it really doesn't matter what the other 2 stats are. The other stats are also good, but it also always has improved stealth for sneaking and movement speed, which is very important for our stealth commando. So don't worry too much about the type of weapon you have. Decide if you're going to go automatic or if you're going to go single, and set your receiver up accordingly. It doesn't matter if it's a combat rifle. It doesn't matter if it's a handmade. It doesn't matter if it's a lever action. As long as it's bloodied and you're spec'd for it, you will do very good damage. So let's take a look at the special stats and cards. This is my setup. It is really up to you how you want to set this up. You do not have to go exactly like I did, but this is what I feel is pretty close to optimal for a stealth commando. 2 strength. You don't need a whole lot of strength. You get strength from your unyielding gear, and the only reason I put 2 in the strength is for this card. Ballistic weapons weapon ammo weighs 90% less. Very important for saving space on your person as well as in your box. If you have any ballistic ammo at all, you should always carry it on your person instead of putting it in your box for storage, because you get 90% less carry weight if you're carrying it. But if you put it in your box, it weighs 100% of what it should. So always carry your ammunition with you if you are going to have any. Perception, like I said, I'm set for automatic, so I have Master Commando, Commando, Expert Commando. Each one gives 20% additional damage, so 3 different cards, total of 60% damage. I recommend maxing these out. It is very important that you have the maximum amount of damage, especially when you're fighting stuff like the Queen, as well as the Wendigo. Whenever that's starting to come around and coming back, it might be a bigger thing to have more damage, depending on more stuff that they add to the game. So I recommend maxing these out. Another very important card that I really like is Tent Killer. It allows you to ignore armor, which is very important, and has the possibility of stagger. The stagger is not real important, but ignoring armor is whenever you're fighting stuff like the Queen that has a very high armor resistance. Super mutants also have a pretty high armor, so you want to be able to penetrate and do as much damage as you possibly can. And the part of perception that I feel is customizable is your concentrated fire. You can run 1 concentrated fire, as well as, say, something like a 2 of glow sight. So you can deal 40% damage to additional glowing enemies if you're going to be fighting glowing enemies. If you're doing something like the Pharma event, that's something that you can use. I personally always run 3 concentrated fire, just because each one gives you an additional percentage. So if you miss your first shot with your VATS, then each subsequent shot that you take, if it misses or hits, it's going to increase the percentage of you hitting the next one. I find it really important to have it. It's really up to preference. There are, you can run Grenadier if you want to run 1 concentrated fire, so that way you can have more explosive radius if you're using an explosive weapon. It's kind of customizable. I recommend at least a minimum of 1 concentrated fire, because you want to be able to target specific limbs, like head, or on the Queen whenever she could still be crippled in the wings, so you can put her on the ground and be able to kill her quickly. Endurance, there's only really 2 cards I use here. Rejuvenated, it gives you additional benefit when you're well fed or well hydrated. It's a little bit of health and a little bit of AP. It's not super important, but it is helpful. The other one that I use is Radical. Since I'm running very high rads, the extra strength sometimes allows me to carry a little extra stuff back. Like when I'm farming for caps and picking up assault rifles to sell for caps, I want to carry as many back as I can, so that way I can get the max caps. So I recommend Radical if you're getting ready to carry something back, but if you're just running around shooting, go Rejuvenated. Lone Wanderer, if you're playing by yourself, not playing with friends, Lone Wanderer is great. Gives you a little bit, it makes you take less damage, gives you a little AP regen. Very good. It pretty much speaks for itself. Other things that you can use, whenever I'm in a party playing with friends, I like to use squad maneuvers. It lets me run a little faster. Sometimes that's important since you're a very squishy build. It's kind of important you can get out of there quickly if you're in a party. And also Strange in Numbers. It allows you to have increased effects from your mutations, like your marsupial allows you to jump a little higher. So I really like the Strange in Numbers. Very good. Other things you can also use is Tenderizer. It allows you to do a little more extra damage. You're usually doing so much damage, you can only do so much. So it's kind of whatever you feel like you need to do. Intelligence is pretty straightforward. Nerd Rage, it is 100% required. You need to have it. When your health is below 20%, you gain damage resistance, you get 20% additional damage, and you get 15% AP regen. So with our damage from our weapon cards, we have 60. With this, it gives us an additional 20. And when we get into luck, we'll all have Bloody Mess, which will also give us an additional 5. I don't think I'm running it right now because I have it set for critical setup, but you know, you can really get some extra base damage out of it. Nerd Rage is very essential. Gunsmith, I use it just so that my guns break slower, gives me 40% slower break speed. I can change it where I put on a 2-star Nerd Rage and then throw on Demolition Expert, so I have an additional 60% damage from explosives if I'm using an explosive weapon. It's really, you know, whatever weapon you're deciding to use, that's how you should set your cards. And agility. Agility's very busy. There's a lot of important things, and I'm going to say this one is not important. This one is the one that I would recommend changing depending on how things are going for you. Covert Operative is very good. It gives you an additional 2.5% normal attack damage when you're stealth. Very good. It makes a huge difference in how fast you can kill things. It's a big deal. So I recommend Covert Operative 3. Stick it on there and don't worry about it. Sneak. I go with 2-star. You can go down to 1-star if there's something else you really want to have a 1 of. My agility, I really never mess with it very much. The 1-star you can get by with. You have so much agility. Plus, you have, if you're using something like the Fixer, you have additional sneak from the Fixer, and you can also maybe swap out one of your pieces of gear for a chameleon piece, which will also make you harder to detect. It's all about how much if you're getting detected, mess around with your cards a little bit. Mess around with your gear. If you're getting detected, maybe take off one unyielding piece and run 4 of 5 unyielding, and then put that 5th piece as a chameleon piece. Like I said, it really depends on the type of trouble you're having. If you're farming and you're getting spotted very easily. Escape Artist, can't stress enough. It's very good. I'm gonna show whenever you crouch, you go invisible for a second. Even though I'm not wearing chameleon piece, that is what the card does. Whenever you sneak, it makes you invisible for just a second, and it allows you to escape your enemies if you're not too close to them. So, very good. Sometimes if an enemy's down the hallway, you can drop the crouch real quick, especially if you're running through a zone, getting to your next enemy, you're getting ready to farm, and then you see them in the distance, they detect you. You can crouch real quick, and they'll lose you. So it allows you to keep your stealth going, and is very helpful. Gun Fu, it just makes it where you only have to activate your VATS once, and you can shoot, kill a whole bunch of guys very easily. Very nice. It's only required to have a 1-star. If you want, you can go up a little higher. The additional damage is not really that important. Like I said, there's only so much damage you could do to something before you kill it. And for stuff like the Wendigo and the Queen, where they have a very high health bar, you really don't need that additional damage. There's so many guys shooting it, and it's not gonna die that much faster. So, and also, you're not gonna be gun-fooing into the Queen very often. So I recommend just 1-star. Makes a big difference, and I'll kind of show it off here in my gameplay at the end. And last is Adrenaline, 100% important. I recommend going all 5 because it gives you an additional 60% damage for 30 seconds per kill. So it just makes your damage nutty. You can easily get up over 1,000 damage with a 5.56 weapon. Pretty much anything. I mean, it really pushes your damage up high. So I recommend 5 Adrenaline. Last but not least, I only went with 14 luck. I've seen some where somebody loses a perception for luck. I didn't have anything else I wanted to put into it, but let's go over these. Grim Reaper Sprint. Any kill that I have while I'm in VATS gives me a 35% chance of restoring all my action points, with my luck being very high. This does proc pretty often, and it almost gives you, like at a Queen fight, you almost have an infinite pool of action points to VATS and kill all of the adds that come from the Queen. It's very nice, it's very helpful, and I definitely recommend getting the 3 stars so you get that full 35% chance of restoring your action points. Better criticals, like I said, this is my setup for critical build. 40% VATS criticals, that extra damage. This is Queen specifically. I really don't need the extra damage for killing super mutants with extra crit damage because they die so easily anyway. Serendipity. This is one of your survivability perks. If your health is below 30%, which if you're bloody build, you're always at 20% or less, you gain a 45% chance of avoid damage, and it's avoid it entirely. There's no you take partial damage, you just avoid it. With your luck being very high, with your health always being low, you do dodge very often. That's actually why I haven't been able to test if you can break your limbs or not. Every time I jump off a high mountain to try to break my limbs, Serendipity kicks in. So I recommend it. It's very helpful, very good in fighting, very good in just everyday gameplay. Starch genes is kind of a requirement. You want mutations. You don't want to ever get rid of the ones that you select to put on your character. So this lets them never go away. It keeps you from having to use the vials again. So 2 starch genes is kind of the mainstay for every build, no matter what you're building. And critical savvy, again, like I said, set up for criticals. Critical hits now consume 50% of your crit meter, so you only use 45% of your bar instead of 100% of your bar to do a crit, which allows you to spam crits like crazy. It is very good for something like the Queen, where you're just trying to mash as much damage on her as possible to kill her as quick as possible. Again, for something like super mutants or random farming, not so good. I usually, if I'm running around and playing regular farming, I will have Bloody Mess on to get that additional 15% bonus damage, just because. So that way, sometimes I don't even have to VATS. I can just ADS and kill something, get that extra damage. I'll also consider running Class Freak. That way, I don't get the negative effects of my mutations, but I still get the positives. It reduces them by 75%, which is kind of a big deal. It's pretty helpful. And my last one is usually Luck of the Draw. Gives you a chance of repairing your weapon slightly every time this triggers. It doesn't sound like it's very important, but going back and repairing your weapon, with the kits, it's less useful, but it just lets you get a little more life out of your kits, especially if you're planning on farming for hours and hours trying to get legendaries, or farming for stuff to sell for caps, fighting queens, stuff like that. You want to keep your weapon as healthy as possible for whenever you're not using this and using other cards. It is a possibility, but definitely not required. So I'm going to show a little bit of gameplay here at West Tech. I did make a couple card changes that I was talking about, and I'm going to show off kind of what Concentrated Fire does. Without Concentrated Fire, I would not be able to select these body parts. And as you can see, I got that 80% head possibility. I'm going to use my Fixer just to get that little bit of stealth. And actually, I'm going to show off why it doesn't really matter if it's a 1-star or not. We're going to use our little plain old 1-star modded basic Bloody Suppress rifle. So 1-star. It's still pretty good. Sometimes it takes a little bit to trigger, but it's one of my favorite sound animations for a suppressed weapon. And you can see Gun Fu. I switched from that one to that one. Didn't have to hit it again. It just automatically did it. And like I said, we just walk over these guys. To me, it sounds like the GoldenEye suppressed weapon. I really do like it, but this is basically what your character is doing. You're a VATS character. Your main goal is to use your VATS to get your kills. You don't have to worry about aiming. And I definitely recommend this type of build for a beginner, because the gear, all it has to be is a 1-star. You'll definitely run into 2- and 3-star armor pieces and bloodied weapons. Just use what you get, and really you don't have to work very hard to build this character. It's a very good first character, does very good damage. The only thing I would say possibly does more damage against something like the Queen would be a heavy gunner, which I'm also going to do a video of That's probably going to be my next one. I have a couple different builds of it I'm going to show off. But yeah, this is pretty much it. You can use this 38 ammo that you will find, like there's 6 of it there. You'll find it all over the place. It'll let you alternate and use some of your lesser used ammo, so you get value out of it, and then save your 5.56 ammo. Your 5.56 ammo is always going to be your higher damage ammo. It allows you to use it for harder fights. I'll just 80, or well, I didn't really ADS. I guess I hip fired there. With our agility as it is, we don't have to worry a whole lot about it getting detected. Sometimes we will, but most of the time we're good. That was a little weird, shooting through a wall, but you know, Fallout 76. There's a 3-star there. There's another 3-star there. Still got the bash damage glitch.
How you hurt me! Stop hiding!
Thought that was a legendary. Didn't look at it too close. So I'm going to show, like, I'm running, and I stop. I'm in it'll let me go back to caution, which is pretty important. Let me see if I can demonstrate it a little better. So I'm running. I'm trying to get him to detect me. See, I'm still in caution. He did see me, and he did take a shot at me. My serendipity kicked in, saved my life. I didn't take any damage, but it allowed me to slip back into caution so that I was still able to get them stealth hits. I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope this video helps. If you have any questions, please reach out to me in the comments, and maybe I'll see you in game. I do play on PC. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you have any constructive criticism for any future videos or something you want to see, please let me know. Thanks.